Yo, what's up? This is Artista, and welcome back to my channel where I like to talk about all things spooky, scary, and have a little bit of fun. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about so much Halloween Horror Nights 2025 news. We've got our first original house announcement, as well as a ton of information on this thing. Concept art and photos inside as well. We've also got news on icons, overall theming, the 10th anniversary of the tribute store, and so much more. By the end of this video, we're even going to be talking about some haunted houses that could be coming next year to the event. Okay, so breaking news. They just announced Hatchet and Chains while I was editing this video. I mean, I guess it couldn't be better timing, right? They caught me at least before I uploaded it, so throwing that in here now. Hatchet and Chains is announced and coming to the event. I did just have this entire video shot and planned talking about Spooky Empire and the El Artista Spanish haunted house, so I'm still going to put that together as is. But now also in this video here, we will be talking about Hatchet and Chains coming to the event. What that means and exactly what that is, if you didn't know. So buckle in and strap yourself down because we are going over so much information today that could change everything for how we're perceiving the event this year. First and foremost, let's talk about this brand new house announcement, shall we? The house is called El Artista, a Spanish haunting, and it was announced at Spooky Empire over last weekend. Over at Spooky Empire, they hosted a panel with a bunch of HHN executives on there, and they kind of just talked about all kinds of things coming to the event, as well as just talked about the event in general, and we got a lot of really cool information to dig through here today. First up on their list, though, was El Artista. For the big reveal, they brought in a whole scare actor and had him act out a little script while standing next to a projector with some awesome graphics on it. The script for the promo here read, "A place where dreams come to blossom, a haven for the inspired, a sanctuary that is cursed by tragedy and haunted by malevolent experience, a forsaken void that calls out to the tortured artist with ill intent, a place that called to me, and with each passing day the whispers grew louder. I feel them looming over my shoulder as I work, eager for their ghostly forms to be painted onto the canvas, and I can't resist. Tonight, the ghosts are more restless than ever, and my art will imitate their death." Alongside this little video, we got a more in-depth synopsis from a panelist who explained that set in the late 1800s in Spain, Sergio Navarro and his career are in a little bit of a dip. He's looking for some creative inspiration, so he relocates himself to a desolate manor in the middle of the woods called the Creation House, a place known as a creative hub for the tortured artist, but it has quite a bit of legend behind it. Unbeknownst to him, the manor's grounds are infested by the spirits of artists that came before him and also moved into the manor. There's a deeper sense of evil rooted within the manor's grounds that exists mostly inside of the conservatory. Within this conservatory, this deep sense of evil overtakes Sergio's mind, influencing his art and forcing him to paint these horrifying creatures that come to life. The spirits want to use his artwork as portals to possess and break into our world. So one night, when the veil is at its thinnest, Sergio has to overcome his own madness and the ongoing whispers of ghosts. As they proceed to break through to our world using his artwork, they set us forward into a haunting unlike anything we've ever seen before. Okay, so we have so much to touch on just here alone. Alright, so first of all, I just want to say that I think it is so cool that just like last year, they brought a live actor in to give this whole presentation. That is so awesome. Now, last year they did specify that the guy that we saw was a actual scare actor from one of the houses, and this year they didn't so much, so we're not 100% sure if that's the case. But I think it's pretty fair to assume that that probably is. The story that they unravel here really reminds me a lot of the whole Inside Universal things that they've been putting up on Spotify the past few years. I personally really love to listen to those, and I hope that we get more of these for the other original houses announced this year. I mean, hey, I hope we get those Inside Universal chapters as well. Maybe this is just a little summarization or excerpt from the whole thing. And if all of this hasn't been enough to pique your interest already, this house is being constructed by the guy that made Dead Man's Pier Winter Wake, as well as Blood Moon Dark Offerings, and both of those houses are fantastically beautiful, gory, and disgusting. This guy does a really good job of balancing those things out, and all of his houses seem to win House of the Year for some reason. Or at least will be running up for the conversation, at the very least. For a lot of people, they win House of the Year, though. The whole concept here sounds really cool, and they let us know that we can expect to see tons and tons of different kinds of ghosts, ghost effects, and all kinds of fantastical creatures created from the artworks inside of this haunted house. They even showed us a lot of pictures and conceptual artwork on what these kind of monsters and creatures could look like. From some of the pictures that they showed us, I'm even kind of getting Beetlejuice kind of vibes with the way that the art and the furniture is kind of possessed and moving around. We see multiple creatures that appear to be made out of pages from books even. This is wild. We are told that Sergio's story is going to be grounded in reality, but also very important to the overall story at play for Horror Nights here. And this springs an interesting question that we had been asking before this house was even announced. Could Sergio be our icon this year? Is this official confirmation of that? Well, let's not get too hasty. I'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. What we do know is that within this haunted house, we're going to see the beginning, middle, and end of Sergio's story. But that his story, or some elements of his story at the very least, will be incorporated or themed around the entire rest of the event. What exactly does that mean? Let's probe further. The manor in which this haunted house is going to be taking place in is known as a Gothic Spanish manor with stained glass feels. I don't know about you, but when I hear this stained glass feel, it definitely makes me think about the IP magnet board that we've gotten, as well as the bumpers and teasers that we've been seeing so far. I mean, almost all of them feature this, right? So how does this affect the overall theme and feel of the event? Well, we were told that Sergio's story and the story of this haunted house is not exactly the story of the event, but rather that the event takes place inside of the story. And I may have an idea of what they're trying to allude to by this. So first we must ask, what is a conservatory? A conservatory is a glass enclosed space typically attached to a building designed to allow abundant natural light and provide a comfortable environment for plants or people. It can serve as a greenhouse, a sunroom, or even a living space, often incorporating features like automated climate control and small blinds. Okay, so now how does that fit into the context of an HHN storyline? Going back to the house description, the part on this conservatory reads, "Here is a deeper sense of evil rooted within the manor's grounds that exists mostly inside of the conservatory. Within this conservatory, this deep sense of evil overtakes Sergio's mind." Does this mean that the location featured across all of the teasers so far could be this conservatory place? If so, what does that mean for the overall story here? I mean, the head of the event even said it himself after all. The event takes place in the story. How important will this location be to the rest of the event? And how could it link to other original houses soon to come? It's said that this year will pay homage to the origins of horror, going for a classic gothic horror vibe. We've also been promised that this year it shouldn't feel so disconnected throughout the park. The theming should be felt all the way from the entrance gates to the back of the park throughout all of the houses and everything all together. They are saying that this year will feel more immersive than ever before. Is this just car salesman speak? It very well could be, you know what I mean? But hey, I would love to see this be the most immersive year ever. Does kind of have a ring to it, doesn't it? Panelists even stated that for those of you that get the Unmasking the Horror tour and go through the whole thing, you'll see that there are graphics and images that were made for the artist's house littered throughout all of the houses in separate locations. Now, if you've done unmasking tours before, there's usually like some kind of item that they stagger throughout all the houses just as like a fun little game of like, where's Waldo kind of thing. And I'm wondering if that's what they could be talking about here. But there's also the bigger possibility that that's not what they're talking about here and that the art could actually be influencing everything. What do you guys think about that? You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. There are absolutely two separate ways that you can read into that comment there. When asked and pressed whether or not this was going to be an icon year this year, Michael Aiello himself didn't even really feel comfortable telling us that. I mean, if you look at the track record over the past few years, it has gotten so messy with the way that we categorize these icons. Back in the day, it was all so simple, wasn't it? You had Jack and like all of his friends, then we got more added to the mix over time. But in recent years, it got kind of hard to discern what was supposed to be an icon and what was just supposed to be a general character. I'm pointing to things like Sinister and Surreal. Were they an icon? I mean, technically they were. They were classified as icons, but they each just got a little scare zone themselves. Some people, for their criteria to be met, the icon has to be involved in all facets of the event, so that kind of doesn't make it fit for them, but it makes it fit for the execs, I guess? Let's move on to Oddfellow. Some people really liked him as an addition. Some people say that he's not an icon, he's just a character from Jack's story. While for others, he could be their favorite in some capacity. Or better yet, the Pumpkin Lord. I mean, what is he supposed to be in HHN lore? He's gotten his very own house and a very own entry port scare zone at HHN 31, where the whole thing was Halloween themed. So was it like Halloween themed? Was it Pumpkin Lord themed? The whole thing is just kind of a toss-up, you know what I mean? Nobody on any corners of the internet are gonna all agree on like what an icon is anymore. And it seems like Michael Aiello himself has just given up on this and doesn't really want to tell us what to believe. What he's saying this year is that icons and however you feel about them are completely up up to your interpretation. This year, Sergio won't exactly be a Jack or an Oddfellow, but that his story and the locations surrounding his story will some way or another tie into everything else in the event. You can make of that what you will. The way that I interpret this, I'm starting to think that maybe the conservatory or the mansion that he's in has more to do with the rest of the event than the actual character himself, and that's why this is going to be a little bit different this time around. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about all that. That was a little bit of a tangent, but it's worth throwing in here. Now that we got all that out of the way, there is a bunch of other Horror Nights news that we need to talk about here. Alright, now before we get to the Q&A portion of the Spooky Empire video, let's talk a little bit more about Hatchet and Chains coming to the event, shall we? In this Old West town, all hell is breaking loose. Red-hot lava demons are trying to possess everyone, melting everything in their path. Now, this isn't one that we have all of this juicy information and details on the way that we do for El Artista, but this thing is going to be really cool, and it is a sequel house. Sort of. It's kind of a sequel house. It's an original house idea based on a single room from the Slaughter Cinema 2 house that we just received. This house featured a couple of demon bounty hunters, where one of them is a man named Hatchet, and the other one's a demon named Chains. At least if I remember correctly, that's how their names go. I could be getting that backwards. But centered in a western setting, this house is sure to be a schlocky good time. The Slaughter Cinema houses, as well as the houses that they spawn from them, are always a really fun, schlocky good time that include a lot of really violent, nasty kills, normally mixed in with a few jokes here and there to keep you having fun. They're kind of built on a grindhouse aesthetic, and they've got that outrageous vibe and feel to them. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more coming out of what to expect from this haunted house in the future, but for now, that's all that we know about it. Starting up first, did you guys know that this year is the 10th anniversary of the Tribute Store? I personally think that that's really cool. I love the Tribute Store. I hit it every year. Obviously, I'm sure you all do too. And every year, year after year, they're constantly changing it up, making it cooler and cooler, and finding new ways to awe-new us as we're buying merchandise. In some years of the past, the rooms were modeled after the IP in which the merch was based on in that room. You'd have like 3 or 4 separate IP rooms scattered throughout the event. I thought that that was really cool personally. And then in the last couple of years, they've started just trying to make a more cohesive theme that fits throughout the entirety of the Tribute Store. We had the Dark Ride and the comic book, and last year it was like a post-apocalyptic bat setting. Well, this year is the 10th anniversary, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Tribute Store celebrates itself in that capacity. Could we maybe even get a line of merch that celebrates these other themes that we've seen so far at the Tribute Store? I know I personally would definitely buy one of those. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite Tribute Store was, your favorite type of Tribute Store, and what you would like to see them do to celebrate this 10th anniversary. We also, at this panel, seemingly got Michael Aiello confirming that Nightmare Fuel is going to be coming back around this time. And I know, you are all so surprised to hear that. They were also asked about the potential of other parks possibly hosting HHN in the future, I guess specifically talking about Epic Universe and Islands of Adventure. And to that, Michael Aiello had to shut it all down. He believes that Studios is where Horror Nights began, and that Studios is where Horror Nights will be forever. Specifically stating that some of these newer parks were just so heavily themed, it makes it really hard for them to develop scare zones and environmental situations inside of them. You can only fit so many things into Jurassic Park, as he says. It's gonna be a jungle, and I mean, that totally makes sense. That adds up for me. It also makes a lot of sense to me, and they didn't have to say it here, but I'll say it for them, that Studios probably doesn't get as much foot traffic as the other parks do. I mean, Epic is brand new and state-of-the-art, and Islands of Adventure has so many really cool rides over there. A lot of really newer ones, too. Talking about, like, Hagrid's and Velocicoaster, I mean, come on. But Studios, man, there are some things that they need to work on and update over at Studios, and they are working on and updating them, believe me. But inarguably, being able to have Halloween Horror Nights over there and boost those numbers up, gotta help them out a little bit, you know what I mean? No shade, no shade, that's just good business. I'm really excited to see whatever kind of Ghostbusters roller coaster is supposed to be replacing Rip Ride Rocket, and I would love to see them update and change out some of the other stuff at the park as well. I'm looking at you, Simpsons Land. You need some work done. It's a beautiful place to be. Please do not get rid of it, but just, you know, do some maintenance is all I'm saying. The old HHN interactive websites were also brought up in all of this, and it was stated that though the executives would really love to bring something like that back, it just doesn't really work anymore with how Universal runs their websites overall. They did state that maybe in a production meeting they would talk about how they could do something like this in the future, because they love having their interactive storytelling. And as long as it's something that we're interested in, it's something that they're interested in developing, as long as it all makes sense. Just a couple more things to get through here, but they were also asked about whether or not we'd be getting more sequels to houses coming in the future. Specifically, they asked about Graveyard Games, citing that they really liked that house and would love to see a part 2 to it. To this, the executives surprisingly surprisingly said that they like to save things like that for more anniversary years, stating that they don't just want to be bringing back sequels to legacy houses all willy-nilly and that they gotta save those for the big events. But like, don't we get sequels to houses like that all the time when it's not anniversary years? Am I tripping here, or did we literally get one last year? I don't exactly know what they mean by this, but the only thing that I can think about is that next year is HHN 35, and that's probably some insight into some of the stuff they're already thinking about planning for that. I mean, come on, we're getting Hatchet and Chains this year, right? We've been speculating that for a really long time, and they're also thinking that we could even be getting like a Mardi Gras massacre scare zone at this point. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm not exactly sure what to make of her comments on that one. When the panel was asked about Five Nights at Freddy's and whether or not it was going to be a house, they had kind of an interesting answer to the whole thing. They stated that it is going to be very fun and that the things you're going to see inside of it will be identical to what you see in the Blumhouse movie. So first and foremost, confirming that it is going to be based on the movie and not necessarily from the game, though I'm sure we'll probably see some Easter eggs there. And secondly, I think that the reason for this weird wording is, again, because this thing was announced well before it was actually supposed to. I've seen tons of comments on the internet saying that this thing will be fully announced with the full package and everything like the rest of the houses get when it was actually supposed to be announced. Again, this was leaked on a panel by Jason Blum, who just can't seem to keep himself under control and leaked the whole thing out a little bit too early. Oh, Jason Blum. I've got a lot to say about that guy. You can expect a video coming next week on that. Now look, since this is a Horror Nights video, I'm gonna tell my Horror Nights crowd right now. The Blumhouse HHN houses, always great. They always have a good time. I mean, there was that Wolfman stunt that they tried to pull last year that didn't turn out good at all, but more or less, we always get something good out of Blumhouse at HHN. But I personally cannot stand Jason Blum in Blumhouse. I don't know if you know too much about their whole thing. I'm gonna be making a full video on that coming in the future, but just trust me when I say this, it has nothing to do with how they relate to HHN or anything like that. Expect to see a big drop coming on that in the future though. But also, speaking of Blumhouse, the whole idea of having an HHN movie made by them was brought up in the whole thing. And they stated that if they ever were to do an HHN movie, they would like to have the whole thing centered around Jack the Clown and kind of expand out from there. How would you guys feel about seeing a movie that covers Jack the Clown's backstory? That would be so cool. Me personally, I am dying to see that. I need that ASAP, please. But would they be able to do it justice? I mean, so many times they just brutalize source material and then absolutely ruin cool niche things for the mainstream, so we gotta keep that in mind as well. But how do you guys feel about this? Would you want to go see an HHN movie? And if you did, would you want it to be about Jack the Clown or maybe another icon? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know in the comments down below how you feel about Artista, a Spanish haunting. I personally think that that sounds really cool too. I'm a big fan of these paranormal and like ghost houses because of all the cool tech and tricks that they can put into the whole thing. It's like going to a magic show right in front of you where you just get to walk through it and see so many crazy illusions pulled off. I'm personally all for that. I could see why some people would just be more excited for the more visceral and scary in your face stuff though. This is more of a niche, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe this will win House of the Year. We'll just have to see. Also, be sure to let me know how you feel about Hatchet and Chains finally being announced. We were hot on the trails of this one for a really long time, so if you've been following everything over here on the channel, then you are not surprised to see this coming. But if you enjoyed my video today, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. I'm still pretty new over here on YouTube, but I've got hours and hours of awesome horror content over on my channel for you guys to check out. Be sure to go browse my catalog. You'll probably find some other things you enjoy. And if you really like my video today, be sure to send it over to a friend you think might enjoy it too. I've been Eldritch Terror, and whether your day's been going good or bad today, I hope it gets better.